There are three forms that energy can take or transfer between. The first being kinetic energy, which is the energy that all matter has that isn't stationary. And this energy is affected by the speed at which the object is moving. The second form of energy is potential energy. Potential energy is contained in matter based on its position compared to other matter. For instance, as you move an object farther away from the Earth against its gravitational forces, the force you exert against the gravity is transferred into potential energy. Potential energy acts much like a rubber band. As you pull the band, the potential energy increases. When you release the band, this potential energy is then released and transferred into kinetic energy as the band snaps back. The third kind of energy is internal energy, which we are more familiar with as we measure this with temperature. If an object has more internal energy, it will be at a higher temperature. All energy is conserved, although it is nearly impossible to transfer energy completely, but we know that these losses are due to friction, thermal resistance, and a variety of other factors depending on how the energy transfer occurs. The conservation of energy is shown with the diagram of the roller coaster as when it's at the top and not moving as zero kinetic energy, and 100% of it is potential energy based off of its height. And then as it falls down, the kinetic energy increases, but it loses altitude. So the potential energy goes to zero as it reaches max velocity. Alright. So there are two ways that energy can flow, and that is work, which is taking internal chemical or potential energy and turning it into mechanical energy, which can then be used, or heat transfer, which I will go into in a little bit more depth. Alright, so there are three types of heat transfer. The first is conduction, second is convection, and lastly we have radiation. Convection is the heat transfer from a material to a surrounding fluid, a gas or liquid. And this is dependent on the material as well as temperature or pressure changes that can change the state of the fluid. So conduction is the heat transfer through a material, which is usually a solid, although stagnant fluids may work too. Energy is lost per unit length through the material, so it only depends on how far it goes through a material. And this is dependent on the material in question. Third type of heat transfer is radiation, and radiation is the heat transfer that is lost through emission of particles. All matter emits some sort of electromagnetic radiation, but these effects are usually only important at very high temperatures and are pretty complex and are beyond the scope of this presentation. And so that wraps up all the different ways that energy can be transferred, and thank you.